director Brendan Bellomo's Porcelain War, which won the Grand Jury Prize for Documentary at this year's Sundance, is a film about Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine. This is Bellomo's first feature film, and it's captured through the eyes of Ukrainian artists Slava, Anya, and Andrei, who made the courageous decision to stay behind and continue creating art amid an ongoing war. Brendan, thank you so much for being here. I just want to start off with the name of the movie. What's behind the name Porcelain War?
It's a great question. So Porcelain War combines two vital things that were so important to the subjects of this film. It's this extreme contrast that they bring into the situation. So there are artists in Ukraine who decided to stay behind and continue creating new work, even in the face of Russian oppression. And to look at these two words, porcelain war, porcelain is the act of creating something that, even though it can be broken, it can never be destroyed, it can be restored after many thousands of years. Putting beauty back into the world by actively creating, even during a war, is an act not only of self-preservation, but of preserving culture, a sense of shared identity. And to do that in contrast to this brutal aggression is something that's very vital and very important. And so the title reflects their active resistance.
And what inspired you to connect with these artists and create this documentary, especially at a time of conflict?
So we actually discovered Anya and Slava's work many years before Russia invaded. One of our producers grew up under Russian oppression, under communism in Poland, and she discovered Anya and Slava's work and absolutely fell in love with it. And when the conflict began, we worked to send them cameras. And you can't FedEx something into a war zone. So we started working with volunteers based in the United States who were bringing in medical supplies. And they were able to bring cameras through Poland and into Kharkiv. And at the very beginning of the war, we had no idea how we were going to do this. We spoke two different languages. We had 6,000 miles between us, and our subjects had never used cameras before. So during this time, I remembered what happens during the Apollo 13 mission. When the spacecraft failed, NASA had a duplicate of every piece of equipment on the ground. So for every camera, every microphone, every lens that was sent into Ukraine, I had the same thing in Los Angeles. And I was able to hold in my hands the storytelling tool that my friends in Ukraine were going to use. And in this way, we created an impromptu film school. And we were able to share them how to turn their artistic instincts that they had as painters and sculptors into cinema and tell the story that they felt was so vital, because while people were coming from all over the world as journalists, they were looking from the outside in, and this story is looking from the Ukrainian personal experience at their lives every day.
Yet they weren't only artists and they weren't only filmmakers, they were actually involved in, I wouldn't say fighting, would I?
I think you could absolutely say fighting. They felt that from when Russia invaded Crimea in 2014, that a larger invasion would take place. And so my friends who are artists, they decided to train themselves to fight, even though they're pacifists, they're peace-loving people who don't want the conflict to go on a minute longer than it has to. They decided to train themselves to become civilian soldiers. And Slava, my co-director, is not only a sculptor, he is a member of the Ukrainian Special Forces. And these people in his unit, they are farmers, they're IT professionals, doctors that have trained themselves to defend their families, to defend who they are against an unprompted attack on a free democratic country. And so they're participating in resistance not only through their art, but also by picking up weapons for the first time.
Why was it important for the artists, the filmmakers, to make this film, especially when they were in a country at war?
For them, they felt that there was a story that was not being told by news around the world. They felt that was vitally important, but at the same time, there was so much more to understanding the Ukrainian experience from within. And as artists, they wanted to continue creating their work. So even though they're there fighting and resisting, it's not enough just to stop the attack that's happening, that's threatening your life. As things have been destroyed, when Russia first invaded, museums were destroyed, universities were destroyed, artists were killed. And they felt it was vitally important to put new work back into the world and to continue this act of creation. And so not only are they creating new work, but they're sharing that process through cinema. And so taking this story onto the screen and bringing that around the world was also their act of resistance.
You know, this wasn't, probably some would even say it was an impossible film to make. So we understand why the people on the ground would want their story to be told. What drove you to have this brought to the screens?
For me, I think there's a sense of personal responsibility to not look at people around the world as being different, but to find similarities. And I think there's no better way than cinema to be able to step into somebody else's shoes, to be able to look at what their life is like and empathize with that. And as somebody who's a creator, an artist, I felt drawn to them not only because we share this language of visual art, but because somebody looking at another free democratic country that was invaded in today's world, it's impossible to see how that's happening, and you just feel compelled to do something about it. So Porcelain War was created because many artists from around the world came together. We were working in the United States, we were working in Australia, we had a team of animators in Poland who hand drew 7,000 frames of animation in the style of Anya's artwork, and these were mapped onto the porcelain and were able to tell the stories of their idyllic past, their peaceful past before the invasion, the trauma of war, and their dreams for the future in animated sequences in the film. So as a group of artists coming together, everyone felt a personal responsibility to help.
And what do you say about their ability to make art throughout what was going on, possibly the darkest moments in their lives?
Anya and Slava, they talk about this notion that in the film, they didn't want to focus on recording and capturing the destruction that was happening around them. They wanted to capture what's beautiful about Ukraine, what's worth saving, the beauty of people who are resisting that by creating something new. And so for them to, even though there was shelling, even though they're only 19 miles from the front line where they are in Kharkiv, creating new work every day, every night, and filming that process became something that was, they couldn't help but do it. It was completely necessary for them, and it was a new way to focus their artistic energy.
Well, tell me about the process for you. They were there on the ground, filming, making their art, kind of documenting their lives. What was the process for you?
The process for me was utterly unique. At the very beginning of the invasion, we were able to send a single camera to them through this amazing volunteer supply chain, along with medical aid. And the camera arrived, and we had no idea if we were going to get any footage back, if they would feel that they could film with everything that was happening in their lives. And yet, they started to send this footage back, more and more shots, and they were incredible. And we realized there was an opportunity. So at this moment, we were going to go with the whole crew and film with cameras and bring everybody in. But because they were artists themselves, we all realized that they could tell their own story. And Slava and I discussed that if we were able to send them enough cameras, they could film from within, and this would be an opportunity to have something very intimate. So for me, that was almost a pure form of cinema. And my role as his co-director with Slava would be no different than if I was there, except I wouldn't be imposing on their conversation. There would be a naturalism to that. There would be an openness, and that was vitally important for us. So we received 500 hours of footage from the 15 cameras that we sent them. And as they filmed, we edited simultaneously, following the course of their life. So it was an incredible struggle to get all of this footage out of Ukraine, receiving it via Starlink, receiving it via secure servers, and piecing together the story of their lives as it unfolded in real time.
Did they know what to expect once the film was edited? Were you communicating, we're going to be doing this part and that part?
Constantly, yeah. We would not only were they filming, we would work together daily and review dailies of the footage that they had shot and discuss it, and they would go and film more, and we would look at scenes as we were editing. So it was a deeply collaborative process, and they knew exactly what to expect because we were authoring this film together.
And once they saw the finished product, what was their reaction?
It was remarkable. We met for the first time when they stepped off the plane in Park City, Utah to attend Sundance 2024 in January. And we hugged for the first time. Everyone was in tears, and we all watched the film together. And I think that shared experience of reliving their life was cathartic, It was heartbreaking, it was beautiful, and it was just amazing to be able to share that with them all as a group of creators trying to help each other.
You premiered at the Sundance 2024. What was the reaction, would you say, or what was the reaction you felt that really kind of hit the button, what you were trying to get at?
The reaction from audiences has been absolutely amazing. Sundance was beautiful with the premiere of the film, and as we've shared Porcelain War around the world, so many audience members have come and said, I feel that this could be me. I feel that this could be my life. So many Ukrainians have shared that they feel this is the most accurate depiction of what it's like to be in Ukraine at this time. And we've really had a distinct honor to share Porcelain War at the US Capitol and be able to actually be invited there by senators and congressmen, and for our subjects to share and participate within the US government as they've worked to bring aid to Ukraine. So it's been beautiful to see these reactions from festival goers, and later this year the film will be coming out in theaters in the United States in this fall, the date to be announced, so we're really honored to share it with more communities.
As you know, Taiwan's been watching the Ukraine war very closely for reasons of its own, fearing that they could be in the same position one day. What do you hope is the message they'll get out of this film?
I think the most important thing is for us to all remember that we have to stand up together. We have to look at the power of storytelling. And I think Porcelain War exemplifies personal participation in our community, in our culture. And it's something that I think is not just about Ukraine. Democracy is under threat in many places around the world, and I think it is an exemplary story of human resistance, even in the darkest times, that this act of creation and this act of sharing our humanity is something that is so beautiful and is absolutely worth that sacrifice.
So beautifully said. Thank you very much.